Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to Dante's Disciples. My name is Jay Taylor. I am your reader, and this is a continuation of a series called Orion's Pest Control. This would be part 5B, I believe, and if I'm wrong, I'll have to go back and edit this. It's been a minute since I've hit this series, so if the voices have changed in between, that's because I've changed. But I'm just going to jump right into the story. Please enjoy. Afterwards, we followed the path to the skull trees. During our hike, Victor whispered, "That fucker is hubris incarnate. He's not stupid. If he offers you a deal, know that it's not going to be in your favor, and be careful with the way he twists his words." Something noteworthy is that the hagstone doesn't react to Hector. I think it's because he doesn't have the same malicious intent as his captors. He may have changed after his murder. Hell, anyone would. But at his heart, he was still Victor. Meanwhile, as we got closer to the skull tree clearing, I felt the stone gradually begin to quake. Up ahead, orange light flickered, and the mechanic had a small fire going. He lay on a blanket next to it, that cursed banjo on the ground beside him, one arm folded under his head, legs crossed at the ankle, and his eyes were closed. He didn't open them as he greeted us. "I was wondering when you two would show up." Keeping my nerves buried beneath the surface, I held up the bag of sugary goodness. "I'm here to negotiate." He laughed, still not looking at me. "Are you now? And what exactly do you think a little thing of cream will get you?" "Not much, I imagine," I said evenly, but I thought it'd be a good jumping off point. Even though I'd originally protested Victor coming with me, I was glad he was there. I don't think I would have been able to be so level-headed if I'd met with the mechanic alone. It would probably be interpreted as a sign of weakness, but I was counting on that. As soon as I saw the mechanic begin to crane his neck toward us, I slammed my eyelids shut. He knew way more about me than I'd ever wanted him to know already, and I was afraid of giving him more. Again, another potential sign of weakness. When it came to trying to get him to back off Orion a bit, I figured it was best if he still underestimated me. I didn't have to see the mechanic to know that he had that wicked grin on his face. "Alrighty, let's see what you got." A hand that was as cold as the grave gently removed the bag of goodies from my grasp. Victor, wordlessly, brought the cavity-inducing offering over to the mechanic. I never realized how quiet his footsteps were until then. He moved like a shadow. He could have been 5 feet away, or 500 for all I knew. There was a rustling of plastic, followed by the trademark sound of whipped cream being sprayed from the nozzle. Sounding slightly less prickish, the mechanic told me I had his attention. I've been trying to find the magic words that would make this whole situation blow over. Nothing that I came up with my head fit that description. So I decided to be straightforward and go from there. "What will it take to de-escalate things between you and Orion?" The whipped cream wailed once again. A moment later, the mechanic replied, "Why are you asking a question you already know the answer to?" "Other than my soul." He chuckled softly, the sound too casual and charming for this sinister discussion. I'm curious, puppy dog." Fabric rustled. Without looking, I assumed he'd sat up. "Which of your parents are you most like?" Here we fucking go. I tried to redirect him. "With all due respect, that isn't relevant." "Oh, but it is." His tone of voice brought chills to the back of my neck. "You see, I'd be willing to take a trade. Find a soul as mouth-watering as yours, and all this goes away. Hell, I might even let you rest in peace. You know what choice your father would pick." I was hoping that the firelight wouldn't be enough for him to see my flushed face and my jaw stiffen. That had touched a nerve, just as he knew it would. That was also a horrible deal, one that I wouldn't even consider. There was no way that I could condemn someone else to an afterlife of torment. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not even that weasel-faced client that I rescued the false egg from. Not even my father. Swallowing back the plethora of terrible emotions threatening to bobble up, I suddenly felt Victor subtly squeeze my shoulder supportively. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't hesitate to give anyone who insulted his employees a piece of his mind. But the mechanic was the last neighbor to mouth off to. That was the best he could do for me, in the moment. When I informed the mechanic that I wouldn't sacrifice someone else to save my own skin, he laughed again. If only you knew how many times I heard those exact words. Thing is, I ain't even got started on you, pup. Given enough time, you might find you're more like your old man than you even thought. I took a deep breath to keep the mixture of dread and anger confined in my chest, then calmly replied, "Sounds like you know how exactly everything will play out. Isn't that boring for you?" The tension that filled the air after those words left my mouth made my chest feel tight. The whipped cream can wheezed thoughtfully before the mechanic mildly admitted, "Well, yeah, a bit. There it is." "You already have all the advantages," I stated. "It's not much of a hunt if your prey can't even run, is it? There's no challenge in killing something that's already baited and trapped." So what do you suggest?" Oh boy. I was about to do one of the many things I warned you not to do. The only way I can bring you the excitement you're craving is that if I have a fighting chance, and a good one. I'll be searching for your name, but I need to know where to look first. His laughter made me suppress a shudder. I remember thinking that I should have known that he'd see through my words, like he saw through everything else. The mechanic then said, "Now I know what you're trying to do, pup, but the problem is, you're right. It's too easy anymore, especially since y'all's names are just available on the internet for anyone to find. I've been getting kind of soft lately." This was his soft side? The mechanic continued. "Now you really think you can pull this off, pup? I know you're a fighter and all, but you're not a warrior. Not really. Being a soldier ain't the same thing. I may not be Kukulon, but I'm as close as you're going to get in Mercer County. We've got a bit of a warrior shortage around here." He snorted. "Now you seem awfully sure of yourself for someone who can't even look at me." "I'm not sure about anything. That's why I'm here, isn't it?" It was quite a moment with only the frogs chirping in the forest able to find their voices. Not even the whipped cream broke up the silence this time. I was tempted to risk peeking through my eyelashes, but I managed to resist. Just as my nerves started getting to me, the mechanic said, "So, you want me to give you a hint? That's a lot to ask, but you knew that already. You're going to want something in return. Hagstone. Smash it." "No way. It was too valuable. If I gave that up, I was dead." I promptly shook my head. He sounded amused. "I should have known you wouldn't fall for that." Looking back, I wonder how many he tricked like that, giving up some form of protection after being misled into thinking the mechanic was going to let them go, only to regret it seconds later. Probably far too many. He continued, "All right then, we'll talk for real. I'll give you that hint, but I got some conditions. You get 3 chances to guess it correctly. Each time you guess wrong, you have to give me one of your names, starting with your first, middle, then your last name. And don't try fucking with me by trying to pass your middle name off as your first." That made my throat tighten even more. If I'd agreed to that, failure wouldn't just spell disaster for me, but everyone I knew as well. I'd be dragging my mom and anyone else associated down with me. I'd essentially be doing what he already requested, sacrificing others to save my own skin. I heard Victor faintly from my right. "Don't." The mechanic wasn't pleased. "Now this ain't about you, Blue Eyes. This is between me and her." The stakes were getting way too high. I couldn't do this. But then what? The hunt wasn't going to wait around for me to find another way, assuming that there even was one. Victor clearly thought that this was a terrible idea. For the record, I did too. I could feel the boss's eyes on me, willing me not to forget what he'd said earlier about dangerous heroics. Victor clearly thought that it was a terrible idea. For the record, I did too. I could feel the boss's eyes on me, willing me not to forget what he'd said earlier about dangerous heroics. Maybe there was another way. I just couldn't see it. But desperation has a way of messing with your head. If I agree to this, I started, knowing that I was probably digging my grave even deeper. And I haven't agreed to anything, just to be clear. If I did this, I would need the insurance that you won't send your crows or hounds or any others that serve the wild hunt after those that I care about. That includes my colleagues and me, for that matter. Like you said, this is just between us. The mechanic chuckled, and I heard him shift again. Now you're feeling awfully bold tonight, aren't you? I reminded him. You want this to be interesting, don't you? He considered with the click of his tongue and then replied. You hear that, Blue Eyes? Means you as well, on both sides, mind you. Same with that witch doctor. Yeah, I know about her. I keep mine out of it if you keep yours out of it too. All's fair, right? I didn't feel right with any of this, but the alternative was for things to continue as they were. If that happened, we were all screwed anyway. And if I agreed, the hint that you provide will have to be both true and helpful. And it'll also have to be given in easily understandable American English. No riddles or puzzles or any other forms of confusing phrasing. You'd also have to give it to me tonight. The whole thing would begin after that. Once again, he laughed. Well, shit, you're not messing around. I know how the neighbors do deals. If I hadn't mentioned it, he probably would have given me the hint in the form of a riddle spoken in backwards Gaelic. All right, pup, I get the picture. You know what you're dealing with. I'll play nice. His voice had a subtle, sardonic edge. Nothing about this was going to be nice, if I chose to go this route, but that wasn't news. Oh, and one more thing, the mechanic added a little too cheerfully. You have until Samhain. I'm sure you know why. It's June already, still a good while away from October, but this year feels like it's flying by fast, like every year following 2020. He didn't have to explain why. The Wild Hunt are at their most powerful during Samhain, which for those of you who don't know, is a Celtic holiday that eventually gave birth to Halloween. It's when the veil between the atypical world and ours is the thinnest. In short, it's a busy day for Orion, and it looks like it's going to be even worse this year. Victor spoke again. Can I talk with you for a moment? Nope, you don't get a say. Either she takes it or leaves it. The mechanic answered curtly. As I deliberated, there were subtle taps on a tree nearby. Hold on. Morse code. M-I-S-S-I-N-G. What was I missing? Maybe it was because I hadn't clearly spelled out what I wanted to happen if I correctly guessed the mechanic's identity. If I accept this bet, and if I find your name, if I accept this bet, and if I find your name, you'll relinquish your claim on my soul, as well as all other Orion employees, whether living, dead, or undead. Have I made that clear? After a moment, the mechanic answered, the smirk blatant in his voice. Well, you have now. Of course, it was so simple. If I had gone through with the deal without being specific about the outcome, the mechanic wouldn't have been obliged to release any of us. I would have done all the work to identify him for nothing. The tricky bastard. And thanks, Victor. With a heavy sigh, I politely asked the mechanic to repeat everything that we just discussed to make sure he wasn't going to conveniently forget something. To my surprise, he did it, without comment, though he sounded like he thought the whole thing was funny. He left nothing out. And when I say that agreeing to this deal was one of the hardest things I've ever done, I meant it. I instantly had second thoughts the moment I heard the mechanic stand up and cheerfully say, Well, you ready for that hint? You're going to want to open your eyes for this. I can show you better than I can tell you. Oh God, I made a mistake. No, I could do this. I had to. Black cherries. He was in front of me. Steeling myself, I opened my eyes. The mechanic stood as close as the hagstone would allow, a dark silhouette in front of the crackling flames. Blue Eyes, would you mind holding Puppy Dog's hagstone for her? Wouldn't want that getting lost now, would we? What? Now, don't get all frantic. I can't do shit to you until you've got your hint, as per our agreement. The mechanic said dismissively as Victor approached me. You'll get it back after. Victor looked apologetic, as he gently removed the most powerful defense I had. He had an odd glint in his eyes. Was that defiance? I'll get you out of this, Vic. I promise. The very moment that he was able to, the mechanic grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. A church, surrounded by black water, a great feast of viscera and wildflowers, black thorns drinking the blood of the unworthy, and the great antlered headdress of the white son of mist. Pricking his finger on those horns, he signed in blood. Victor pulled me back, not giving the mechanic even a picosecond to take full advantage of being outside the Hagstone's influence. If he hadn't been holding me up, I would have been on the ground still recovering from what I'd just seen. You find that ledger, you find me, the mechanic said coolly. That church, it reminded me of something. In the morning, I'm going to check our records. For now, I just want to crash. I'll keep you updated. On the bright side, there weren't any crows waiting for me when I got home. I want to thank everybody for listening. When you check out the channel, there's a series that I'm writing called The Sneak, which should be about a 6-parter. And I've got a few more screenplays that I'm converting into creepypastas for narration. So this process is fun. I want you to enjoy. Thank you. We add this missive to our continuing tales. I ask you, share my voice with others. Let them know that there is warmth in the cold, light in the darkness. My friends, lovers, disciples, this is Dante.